I'd go in there, there's 2,000 empty seats, and I would speak to the empty seats and the chairs. They loved me. It was incredible. I talked to the carpet. I spoke to the chandeliers. Because sometimes not everybody else believes in your dream. Not everybody else is going to want to help you work your dream. Thank God we do have people in life that are partners and not parasites. Come on, somebody. But for the most part, it still takes you taking initiation, saying, I commit to this outcome. I said, my name is, my life is about, and I committed to it. And I got in there, I started speaking. Then I started working with the kids. I went to helped out the kids' church because nobody else had ever talked to me. Or let me speak. So I decided they had those little orange fishes that they gave the kids. They told me to teach them about Jonah and the whale. I think I taught them about Flipper. Free Willy, come on, somebody. What am I saying? Don't wait for perfect conditions to act. You don't want to get here 6 months from now and go, why did I sit on this for so long? Come on, there's something you can access, and we're accessing a market in this. I've talked to some of the best people in this business. We are accessing a market worldwide that has incredible influence. This is a great time for you to build your network, so no matter what happens with the American economy, you don't go decrease. You're building wealth. You're building a network. You're building an asset that will endure beyond just you going to 9 to 5. Don't quit your job. Just build your asset. Do prime time. There's a reason why people pay for money at prime time. Between 7 and 10. Use your prime time to work it, not just to watch Simon. To watch Chaz Bono to see if he or she lost weight. Why do you say that? Because 28 million people in America are watching it. When you could be multiplying, producing, and developing better relationships and a better quality of life. So what are 2 things you'll do right now? 2 things. Not 3 things, 2 things. What would you do right now? Get yourself back to the gym. Forgive somebody. Pray again. Love again. Come on. Work the business. What would you do? What would you commit to right now? You got to start somewhere. I end with these 2 stories. My friend Chris, he became my friend. He showed up at a golf course. He wasn't my friend when he first showed up. We were playing golf for cystic fibrosis not too long ago. He showed up in a red Ferrari and pink pants. That's why I say we weren't friends at first. I had to check him out. He showed up. We're playing golf. We're having fun. And I go, man, you're a different guy. And I go, but I like you. You got something unusual about you. He goes, can I tell you my story? I go, yeah. He goes, you're going to find it pretty interesting. It's the truth. I go, okay. He goes, me and my friend, we were playing golf in Toronto. I go, interesting. He said it like a Mexican, but he's white from Toronto. From Toronto. And I go, yeah, I was golfing and I was smoking a joint. I go, you're serious? He goes, yeah. He said, and I had an epiphany, or a dream, whatever you call that. I go, really? He goes, yeah, I saw myself going to California and buying a vineyard, and I was going to make wine. He said, even after I got done being high, I still wanted to do it. I said, you're really serious? He goes, yeah. So he comes to California, spends all of his money, drops out of school, and gets a loan, and he buys a little vineyard. He sits there, and he thinks, I'm going to go plant some seeds. He buys a little bit of seeds. He's all ready to get going, because he thinks, in a year, I'm going to make some grip. I'm going to make some cash. Come on, I'm going to make some loot. I'm all excited about it. He says, I got there. What I did not realize, this is going to help you right now, is for 3 years, all I had to do was dig up bad seeds and dig up bad weeds. He said it was the most frustrating thing because my pocketbook, people were calling those 888 numbers at night saying, we want money. People were saying, hey, we want this. He said, I was getting broker. He said, but I committed myself to something. Some of you committed this and you haven't seen results yet. So I'm speaking this. Digging up bad seeds and weeds. He says, after 3 years, he says, now you can plant good seed. He said, for 2 years, I sowed seed. He said, all the while, I'm broke. But all I know is I committed myself to this. He said, I planted seed in there. And he said, after the first year, I thought I could get the seed out. He said, no, so you have to keep planting seeds for 2 years. He says, but I can't afford it. People said, get out of this. You're going to lose everything. You're going to be a mess. You're going to have to file bankruptcy, all these things. He says, no, I've committed to my dream. He says, I got to stick with it. Even if I got to stick with it, that's all I've got. When this becomes all you got, you'll fight for it. God will give you the sight, the right, the might. The question is, do you got the fight? It was worth your gas money. You can come see that on another Sunday. I'll speak at a place. He said, I kept planting seeds, so then I thought I was going to get a harvest. He says, now you got to put it on the shelf. He said, I've never been so irritated in my life. They put wine, My thing that I've worked my tail off, and now I'm broke. I have nothing. People are telling me what an idiot I am. He says, but all I know is I saw my dream. And I had to watch it sitting on the shelf, collecting dust. But on the 8th year, he said something unusual happened. He says, I popped the cork. He goes, I wasn't even that excited about it anymore. He said, I just refused to let go of that until I found out what was in that bottle. He was sitting on a 100-point wine worth $500 million, and he was working it in the ground, even though for 8 years, 7 years, he never saw the fruit of it. Some of you, you're busting your butt. You're working a 9 to 5 you don't like, but on the side, you're making little dividends. You're calling 2 people a day. You're telling people about their dream. You're sharing the opportunity, not just the juice. People won't stick in if you just sell a juice. Hear me. Are you not jacked on juice? I drink the juice. The juice is great. But the opportunity is the only thing that can multiply you. Why do you say that? Because I don't want to see you spend a whole lifetime talking about juice that ain't going to multiply. But an opportunity will multiply your network and net worth. It's the power to get wealth. Come on. He said, I was working it, but I had no idea that I was sitting on $500 million. He said, what I refused to do was let go of my dream. People tried to, I had distractions, disappointments, and delays. But he said, I refused to give up until I found out what this bottle that I put in, all these hard work, could really manufacture. Some of you have been working hard. Some of you haven't started yet. You guys say, you know, I'm going to start planting some seeds. Some of you don't have no, you're on a gold mine. You're on a gold mine right now. I'm tired. Maybe I should just quit. Well, then there's that bicep body thing, you know what I mean? It's a 90-day challenge. It'll work for you for 90 days. Where will you take you 2 years? They don't got a plan. And all I'm saying is, and I'm not saying that out of negativity, all I'm saying is look at the facts. A hasty man buys into emotion. A wise man has vision. The sight, the right, the might. The question is, do you got the fight? Come on, this is it. This is going to be good. Let your neighbor say, watch, here he goes.
Watch, here he goes.
B.P. Birkeland, 7 years of age. He's known today as the gentleman who sold the Seattle Space Needle worth millions and millions of dollars. But at 7 years of age, he contracted polio. They did not have a vaccine for it. Within months, he was crippled and paralyzed from his chest down. His mom had told him there's no hope. And she didn't know what to do with him at 7 years of age. She had to clean the house, so she decided to put him in a wooden box and carry him from room to room in a box. She'd carry him by, he'd sit in the box and play with himself so she could keep an eye on him while she was doing her chores, cleaning the chairs, doing the chores. Every room, so she decided at 8 years old he couldn't move his body, but she decided to put a mirror in front of him at 8 years old so he could entertain himself, make faces at himself. Come on. This is how I flow, sorry. So he's looking in the mirror one day and he saw himself. Documented true story. Go look up online. Jesus shows up in the mirror and says, you will walk and run. And he has a picture of himself like a movie, watching himself walk and run at 8 years old. This is his story, not mine. This is his story. He leaves. He said he felt God left. And he said from that moment, he never saw himself living inside that box again. And he said, I had to find a way to get out of my box. So he said, I began to try to move my body, but I found my body was paralyzed. But the problem was, I saw myself beyond my box. The physical box and the emotional box, the labels they put on. So he said, I tried to learn how to move my chest a little bit. He said, I got a little bit of my chest and my shoulders done. And his mom says, what are you doing? He said, one day I'm going to get out of my box. BP, there's no cure. You'll always be in your box. Okay, Mama. 9 years old. BP, what are you doing in your box? Mama, one day I'm going to get out of my box and I'm going to run. I see myself outside this box. BP, it'll never happen. Don't get your hopes up. They don't have a cure. I'm sorry that you have to be that way. Carry him from room to room in a box. BP, stop moving. He waits till his mom went behind the shelf. Come on, some of you, you're in here. Come on, you're looking for growth. You're saying, how can I feel like I'm stuck in a financial box, a relational box, an emotional box. Come on, you're still here in the year 2011, moving. Come on. He's moving. 8 years, 9 years old, 10 years old. He finally generates enough movement and he tips over. He tried to move and he found he couldn't move. His elbows had not enough strength. He fell flat on his face. His mom picked him up and said, CBP, you will never leave your box. Okay, Mama.